On the surface, ZZZ 2.4 feels like any other story quest, but beneath the surface lies ideological warfare we've never seen before. Today, we're going to be unveiling the story's true ideological meaning to provide factual understanding over loose speculation. But ideological warfare is only as powerful as the people that drive it. So who exactly is fueling this fire? Well, Sarah embodies a nihilistic worldview, rejecting mankind's societal structure in favor of absolute exaltist rule. Now, there's three ideas here integral for inviting understanding. Number 1, the sandcastle embodying fragility. Number 2, the cage embodying restriction. And number 3, the tide referencing inevitable chaos and destruction. Okay, but symbolic understanding is worthless without context, so what exactly is she referring to? Well, directly after this quotation, she criticizes mankind itself, referring to pointless hate, power struggle, and death. This sets societal failure, rationalizes her nihilistic worldview. So what's her solution? Well, it's overthrowing society's fragile law in favor of an absolute ruler, the exaltist. This is summarized and supported in her last quote, referring to the creator as the solution to end all of mankind's chaos. Her critique on mankind incites radical reform, utilizing chaos and death to invite change. Now let me ask you a question. Isn't Sarah's critique on mankind partially correct? I mean, just like she said, even without the hollows, man will always find a way to create chaos. Don't believe her? Look at the world we live in today. Domestic violence motivated by mere online theoretical statements, and mass global terrorism and ideological warfare to this very day. For a world that's supposed to be free from a post-apocalyptic disaster, there sure are a lot of man-made problems, aren't there? But does correctly critiquing mankind rationalize her corrupt methodology? No. Absolutely not. Yes, her critique on mankind is correct, but her solution is outright insane. Committing mass terrorism and murder in response to a broken society simply adds to the instability that she criticized. Violence is never a solution to mankind's intrinsic issues. All it does is reinforce them. Now, rather than forcing change through violence, the story proposes another solution. Change defined by internal reform. And the best way this was captured is with Banu. You see, Banu's arc can be thematically summarized as a man versus self plotline, with his robotic nature actively conflicting with his desire for true autonomy. But how do we know this? Well, there's one key quote integral for understanding this. You see, the inability to touch flowers is a critique on his robotic nature, thematically summarizing this quote as an illustration of his desire for humanism conflicting with his robotic physiology. So how does he alleviate this thematically? While he can't solve his robotic physiology, he can solve his internal conflict with the past. Only after he hears the voices of those he saved does he truly realize the gravity of good he's brought to the world. This very moment serves as a turning point, allowing him to embrace the good he's done as opposed to exclusively acknowledging his mistakes. It's only here he was able to complete his initial mission and be born anew, thereby rationalizing his completion of the rebirth mission. But some of us might not live long enough to have the luxury of reform. Meet Yishin, a character defined by the burden of strength and the responsibility to act because of said capability. But what do I mean by this? Well, this statement can be summarized through one important conversation, that being the abandonment of an established dilemma in favor of action thematically repeated and associated with protecting others. But there's one thing they all have in common. Consequence isn't acknowledged until later. Everything here can be summarized as rejecting fear and consequence in favor of protecting those in need. Okay, but why exactly does it matter? Well, this quotation and theme align directly with the dilemma of the chainmail blade. To even utilize such a dangerous weapon, you need to abandon the idea of consequence in favor of taking absolute action. It's only when Yishin comes to terms and understands this quote in the end of the story that she's able to utilize the chainmail blade without any hesitation. But unfortunately, that wasn't the end of Yishin Guang's arc, was it? You see, the hard part wasn't about rejecting fear and consequence. The hard part was about living with the consequences of the decision that you made. You see, the theme of memory we mentioned in the last video didn't end during that patch. It only continued, being brought up like a ticking time bomb before she inevitably faced the consequences of her actions. But what exactly were the thematic hints? Well, there is one scene she periodically forgot a quotation likely taught by her Youngwood Summit seniors, and scene 2 where she stated to be eating food, symbolizing remembrance. Now, what was the purpose of the thematic repetition of the memory theme? Well, the purpose was to foreshadow the end of the story, where the quote finally comes full circle. You see, Yishin loses her memory. thematically concluding this ticking time bomb that watchers of our channel were able to notice since conception. Everything from her preview trailer all the way to now were foreshadowing the eventual loss of her memory, ending her character progression on a massive cliffhanger. What if I told you we can definitively prove what's gonna happen next? You see, the next part is gonna focus on the second part of the quotation. She was successfully able to reject fear and consequence in favor of protecting those in need. Now she needs to learn to live with the consequences of that action, thereby rationalizing the second half of the quote. This is what the second part of the story in the next patch is going to be about, coming to terms and living with the consequence of her action. Now, with Shengguang, Banu, and Sarah out of the way, there's one more individual integral to true thematic understanding, and her name is Dialin. You see, Dialin is a character governed by her duty to establish absolute judgment. This motif isn't only defined by her role as a Krampus judge, it's also further expanded upon if you examine her faction name. So what exactly does the name mean? Well, Krampus is an ancient being from European folklore, serving as a figure to encourage good by punishing the bad. One thing it also does is serve as the antithesis to Santa Claus, a character that rewards good and discourages the bad. Now hold on, I know what you're thinking. Why the hell did this goon mention Santa Claus? Well, it's because contrary to her faction name, Dialin actually embodies traits from both Saint Nicholas and Krampus. She can be thematically summarized as a figure of absolute punishment and absolute mercy simultaneously. Okay, that's a lot of claims, but how exactly was this shown? Well, initially she judged Banu as an irredeemable robot, purposely guilting him into considering self-inflicted demise. This short arc embodies Dialin seeking absolute judgment by any means necessary, thereby rationalizing the punishing motif of Krampus. Okay, but what about the merciful half? Well, the merciful motif was shown when she judged him and realized he was more than his past, eventually coming around to assist with delivering him from his inner torment. She embodied both absolute judgment and absolute mercy in the same story. This is why her design embodies the theme of duality, being both black and white. She's a character that embodies both absolute punishment and absolute mercy. Okay, now that we've established their ideology, why does this all matter? Well, understanding individual ideological standpoint is integral for understanding the thematic nature of this story. Understanding Shengguang's rejection of fear and consequence, in conjunction with the theme of memory, was a key factor to connecting her to the Qingming Blade thematically. Understanding individual thematics allow you to peer deeper into each character's ideology. This same intellectual benefit applies to Sarah's thematic need for reform, understanding Dalin's judgment motif, and even coming to terms with Banu's man versus self plotline. Grasping the ideology of each character allows for a higher level of thematic understanding. Now, I know you're tired of lore channels constant guessing and you come for the fact. That is why I created this channel, to educate people not through theories or guessing games, but with thematic understanding and narrative analysis. Feel free to let the algorithm know this is exactly what you want. And I know both me and you are tired of toxic online communities, so I created a safe haven in my Discord server with over 600 members. This way you can escape the public toxic nature of fandom culture and meet new friends along the way. Real quick, shout out to my YouTube members and Discord boosters. That's about it. Peace out.